from this point, how do we go from the engagement to the sale? How do we transition the engagement in the conversation, nurture them, and transition them into a sales conversation? This is continuing our personalized automation week 3 of 4 series that we've been doing. And when we have these key questions, it'll help us send these with some of the automations that we have available so it fits right in. So if you want people coming, as people are coming towards you, they're now responding. They're like, hey, I like your stuff. This is great. You have their attention and interest. Like I said, the problem is, how do we transition them? How do we go from engagement? We just become best friends. Let's have a sales conversation. Sometimes that can be really intimidating and really uncomfortable and awkward for somebody. But fortunately, there is a way to transition this. And my promise is that it's easy. When you have the right questions, it's actually really, really easy. It's very natural to do. And it's a really fun superpower to have because there's side benefits to this. Like, you can guide if you're talking about where you're going to go for dinner at night with your spouse or loved one. Some of these questions can really help guide the direction towards a restaurant that everyone will be happy at. So you can use sales in all kinds of ways, which is fun. We like to call these transition questions, as I mentioned. So let's go to our word wizard here and see what magical filter that he has created for us that we can use. It's something called A.R.C. You guys can write this down. A.R.C. We'll use this A.R.C framework for transition questions. And simply put, it looks like this. Number one, we want to ask a question that attracts somebody. It's like a magnet. It pulls them in. This is what the ideal first question will do. The second one starts to reveal more of the pain that they're feeling. And the third one is the call to action. It's a clear, strategic, prescribed call to action to the pain that they're experiencing. This is A.R.C, how we think through our questions. So here's an example. If we're an agency that's offering a lead gen service, then what questions would we want to ask somebody? Well, if we apply the A.R.C methodology, how are you getting new leads? This one's pretty direct, but if we've filtered who we're reaching out to, in other words, we have found our ideal customer profile. If we're talking to accountants, we find a bunch of accountants and we've identified different criteria to extract the ones that are actively looking to grow. So if we're talking to accountants that we know want to grow, they're going to be thinking about leads and acquiring new business to some level. So if we've done our pre-qualifying really well, this type of question would be very, very effective. Hey, how are you getting new leads? And we can ask that same question in a variety of ways. So right now, this is first step where you can think about the product and service you offer. Lorenzo, you mentioned travel earlier. You're in insurance. So when you're reaching out to consumers about different lines, if it's personal lines of insurance, attracting them, Lincoln mentioned pain being around cost. Hey, do you feel, have you noticed, is it just me or have you noticed insurance rates going up recently? It's a question specifically designed around their perceived problem or pain. So that would be attractive to know the answer to them. So these can be more specific examples for everyone here on the call. Now, once they say they respond to that, they could respond with honestly a yes or a no. You can catch or receive what they're saying and then really still go to your second question regardless, depending on the conversation. But the second question example could be something for the reveal like this. Oh, nice. That's a great way to do it. How's the quality? So it's kind of a second layer questions. Hey, maybe they're not getting leads, and so they're struggling to find quality, or they are getting leads, but we want to clarify how much quality they're getting. Because if we provide leads as a service and they're already getting leads, I guess they're not a fit. Well, not necessarily. What if the leads they're getting aren't qualified? What if they're not the quality they need, so they're not closing any business? And that's the pain and problem that we want to reveal that we can solve. So it's not discounting things too soon. So as you're thinking through your second question, we want it to be a revealing question specifically around their perceived problem or pain. And lastly, the third one is around call to action, right? So if they reply, actually, lead quality, we're not closing, we're starting to get more leads, but we're still not quite closing them. the way that we need, or the way that we feel we should be. Third question, would you be opposed to seeing how we doubled our show rate? And the answer to that might be, we show them, here's how you just find quality and qualify quality leads. That might be the solution we provide to them that contributes to the show rate. The other outcome might be, oh, you're talking to them and they are booking a call, but you have no follow-up process. There's no reminder, you're not sending them the link. And so they forget about it. And even if they remember, they don't even know if you're calling them or if they're supposed to show up somewhere. There's no clarity. So there's parts in the process that we could discover that are broken all around this question that we have answers to. So it's a pain-driven question, inviting them into a conversation with us, but it's focused on a result. Notice in all these questions, I haven't talked about us. You're not saying, oh, well, we're the #1 lead generation agency and know how to find the best quality. Would you like to know how to get the best quality? I'm not talking about me. I'm not talking about my company. In fact, oftentimes when you guys are in direct messages, selling yourself even before the company can be really effective. I was doing an interview earlier this week with a brand and marketing agency, and he shared a really powerful example of how he got one of his most recent and largest clients in his company's history. He really led with him. He sold him, hey, here's my advisory fee, here's what I do, here's the problems that I solve. And he was chatting through this. He's like, oh, by the way, I'm also a CEO of an agency that can help fulfill on all of these tasks and services if you need the support. If your team doesn't have the skill or resources, like, I own an agency that can provide that as well. So it created this authority framework that allowed people to get to know him and his values, and through the lens of their own perceived problems. All right. So this is the ARC. This is the ARC framework: attract, reveal, and call to action. These questions need to be strategic questions, focus on the perceived problems that our customers are thinking about with the words they use to describe them. And it really should go beyond 3 questions in leading them towards some type of call to action. This one's obviously based on a call, but you can invite them to a VSL, you can invite them to a PDF or some type of training.